What's up, guys? I was just talking to Instagram. I usually pop on with them before I come on with you over on Facebook. So good morning. Hi. How's everybody doing? I feel so much better today. I have to share with you really fast before we get into what we're going to talk about today is you guys, literally, I've been sick all week. I haven't felt very good. I thought it was, allergies, but I'm like sick. It's like I'm stuffy and sore throat and cough. I had a fever. Like, it's just weird. And it was so funny last night. I told my husband, I'm like, gosh, I even had this like moment of maybe I shouldn't do Fitness Friday because maybe I'm not feeling good. But the thing is like I always show up. Like I show up and life gets in the way. But, I've shown myself through showing up through fitness that like I just show up. Like I just do what I do. So hopefully you guys don't, you're not too hard on me today because I'm not quite as clear as I normally am for this, but I really can't wait to talk to you about this whole thing about the dirty word in fitness that I like to say is called cardio. Like, who's with me? So like, hi Jason, hi Carrie, like who's with me? Do you guys love cardio or do you hate it? Do you hate the word? Do you hate what's associated with it? Like, I want to know. So when you're here, let me know how you're feeling about this, but I call the dirty word. I actually hate the word. And I have a lot of negative kind of things around that word cardio. So I want to kind of just break down to you today the difference in, steady state, which is called LISS, low intensity training. So it's like that low intensity steady state, or the acronym is LISS, or high intensity interval training. The acronym is HIIT, right? So there's kind of two ways to look at cardio. Or cardio. I like to put it in parentheses because, sometimes I like to call cardio just movement. So let me break it down for you guys a little bit today. Now, I want to make sure you guys understand that I'm talking about the general population here. I'm not going to talk to you guys today about performance or athletic performance, okay? Hi, Jenny. I'm not going to talk to you about that. So if you're an athlete and you're training for a specific sport, this is probably not applicable to you. Thanks for commenting, you guys. It makes me know that it's landing with you, so give me the thumbs up. So, but we're going to just talk about the general population, about getting fit, maybe trying to, reach your weight loss goals or your fat loss goals or your body composition goals. Does that sound good? So please understand this is just geared to that. Okay, we're not going to be talking about performance here today, athletic performance. All right. So I'm going to break this down. Like I said, there's two categories of cardiovascular training. There's LISS, low intensity, steady state cardio. And this is the kind you guys are probably most familiar with. This is the kind that, you go out for a run, you go out for a bike ride, you get on the elliptical, right? You get on the hamster wheel. It's the kind that, our past generations have really kind of grabbed hold of, calling it the fat burning, right? You're in the fat burning zone. So if you guys have ever heard that term, that's probably something that is associated with LISS, low intensity, steady state cardio, all right? So in the past few years, there's this other type and form of cardio that's called HIIT, high intensity interval training. Now, the two are quite different, okay? Very different. And I'm going to break it down to you to show you what you might be doing and how you might be able to change it to make it work more effectively for you. And I'm going to tell you which kinds to do and when. Sound good? You guys like that idea? Okay, so check it out. So LISS cardio is when your heart rate is at about 50 to 60% of its maximum rate. So that means you're like breathing a little heavy, but you're able to carry a conversation. You're not working too hard. It's like if you're out for a jog with a friend, you're out for a good hike, something like that, okay? You're on the elliptical machine going away for 30, 40, 50 minutes, whatever it is that you do. That's low intensity steady state cardio. All right. So the other thing is HIIT, high intensity interval training. High intensity interval training is when your body is at its max, 85 to 95% of its max heart rate. That's high intensity interval training. Okay. So those are the differences. So now I'm going to break down to you what happens physiologically with LISS training, low intensity steady state, or HIIT training, high intensity interval training. Okay. So a lot of people talk about LISS as the fat burning zone. All right. Now, the fat burning zone, there's actually a lot of truth to that physiologically. So what happens when your body intakes oxygen and you're in a 50 to 60% range of your heart rate? Your body takes in that oxygen and it slowly starts to mix into your body and it combines with fat and it produces energy. So it's very true. In that low intensity state, you are burning fat as fuel and energy. Okay. Makes sense? So that sounds really good, right? It's like, yeah, give me more of that. So that's why a lot of the science before now has shown that that's a great way to burn fat. Now, the problem is just because you're burning a higher percentage of fat during that time doesn't mean that you're burning a higher percentage of net calories. Okay, there's a big difference there. So you're burning a small amount of calories, but a higher percentage of fat. Following me? Okay, so what happens there is that steady state does elicit that oxygen to burn fat. However, it's a lower net calorie burn than the HIIT interval training. So let me explain to you what physiologically happens with high intensity interval training. High intensity interval training is quite different, very different, in fact. So a lot of people will do their high intensity interval training, and that means that you're basically going for a set amount of time, going to a very fast pace, and then recovering. Okay, so during that physiological process, your body is working at such a high level that it doesn't have the time to take in the oxygen and turn it into mixing with the fat to get energy. I'm trying to break this down a little bit simply. So what happens is your body says, I need energy now. So it uses carbohydrates or glucose as energy. Does that make sense? Okay, fast burning energy. Well, a lot of you are saying, well, wow, I really just want to burn fat. Why would I want to do HIIT if it's just tapping into my carbohydrate or glucose stores? Good question. The difference is it creates a metabolic effect on your system that taxes your central nervous system, which elicits a much higher demand on your body. Okay, so in order for your body to recover and get back to a homeostasis balance, after a HIIT training interval system, it actually has to burn a lot more calories after the fact and throughout the rest of your day in order to repair and get back to a normal balance, because the demand that you put on the central nervous system and the metabolic shift is so intense that your body has to work a lot harder to recover. Does that make sense? So the net calorie burn or the net energy burn or expenditure is quite a bit higher with the HIIT training. Okay, so does that make sense to everybody? Is that landing with you guys? I hope so. Okay, so what I want to go through now is when people do the HIIT training, most of the time they're doing it incorrectly. Because a lot of people have been told, oh, you go for a minute on, you work really hard, and then you rest for a minute. Or you go 30 seconds on, and then you rest for 30 seconds. That's not what HIIT training is about, you guys. If you were to get on a piece of equipment and do interval training or HIIT training properly, there is absolutely no way you could sustain a minute of that kind of work. There's absolutely no way. Okay, the reason why I want to explain this to you is HIIT training is about recovery. The magic is in the recovery, because if you're not recovered completely, you can't go as hard as you need to the next time. So the interval training and the metabolic response and that hormone shift and that taxing of the central nervous system, which is what you're after with HIIT, doesn't happen until you're at your max. It doesn't happen until you're at your max. And if you're at your max, I guarantee you, you cannot sustain your max for about a minute. I can barely sustain it for 20 seconds. And my recovery is going to take as long as it needs to in order to get back to balance so that I can do again and go again at my 100% effort, my 100% max. Okay, so if you're doing HIIT training and you decide you want to go and use a piece of equipment at the gym, I like to use, those assault bikes, the Aerodyne bikes, the old school ones. It's one of the best ways in the gym to do a lot of metabolic work. Also, the battle ropes are great. The ski erg machine. There's a lot of different ways to use it, not just the treadmill for sprinting, especially if you have knee stuff like I have going on. I find that very effective and it's lower impact. So, for example, if you're using your HIIT, you're using a day to do your HIIT training, you want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. So when you're on your machine, you really don't want to go for more than 10 minutes max. And you really want to make sure that you're going all out. So that means you have to go as hard and as fast as possible to where you're absolutely done. This doesn't mean it's just hard to breathe. This means you're done. And then you recover and do it again. Sustaining that for longer than 20 seconds is very hard to do unless you're an extreme athlete, I guarantee you. Okay, and if you never know what that feels like, try it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't resist it. There's beauty that happens in the discomfort of that. There really is. So that is the best way to utilize your high intensity interval training, in my opinion. Okay, is that landing with you guys? You guys getting that? Give me some hearts. Let me know that things are happening so that I can stand on point here with you. So the other thing with this is that the downside of the HIIT training, to be quite frank, is that you need tons of recovery time. That kind of output and that kind of taxing on your metabolism, that kind of taxing on your central nervous system requires quite a bit of recovery. So you cannot do this more than twice a week, maximum. Cannot, without eliciting a negative hormone response in your system. So if you're doing too much HIIT training and you're not recovering properly, you can actually do the opposite. And when you do the opposite, you're going to get a cortisol release in your system. When you have that cortisol release in your system and too much of that, what happens is you will store body fat. So if you're going to be implementing a HIIT training, true HIIT training into your system, into your routine, you need to be very clear that you need at least 72 hours. I just said 72 hours of recovery time. Okay. Now that doesn't mean you're laying on the couch recovery time. That means you cannot do another high intensity interval training situation or go into a really heavy powerlifting day. Okay. Excuse me, I'm still feeling that sickness. Does that make sense to you guys? So that's the downside of HIIT. Now there is a downside of the low intensity steady state cardio also. So the steady state cardio is great, and I like to call it in my programs my happiness activity. So what I call low intensity steady state cardio is never done for me on a treadmill or at the gym. I can't stand that. It drives me crazy. I bore myself to death. I can't get on the hamster wheel. I've just done it too much in my life and I abused my body. And when I say abused my body, what happens is with that low intensity steady state, the repetitive motion of going out for a run every day is really taxing on your joints and your bones and everything that keeps your body structurally sound, right? So what I really want to make sure you guys know is there is a downside to that because you're going to be, increasing injury at that point if you're doing repetitive motion all the time. So what I want to explain to you is if you're in that 50 to 60 heart rate range and you're doing the low intensity steady state, use it as your happiness activity to just get some movement into your day. Go for a hike in the mountains, go for a walk, go for a nice bike ride, and use it that way so that you're mixing it up and you're not consistently pounding on those joints in the same repetitive way. If you're wearing out your hip flexors, if you're wearing out your knees, that's not good for your overall longevity and health because that's going to delay your results because you're going to have to rest and work through that injury. Okay. So if you're a gym rat and you love the gym and you're not really into the outdoor stuff, great. But what I want to ask you to do is instead of just staying on the treadmill for 40 minutes to do your low intensity steady state cardio, change it up, you guys. Get on the elliptical, then move over to the stair climber, then maybe do the rowing machine so that you're not continually pounding on those joints in the same fashion. That repetitive movement is very dangerous, okay? And it can't be sustained. All right, so that's kind of the downside of the list, and the downside of the HIIT is the HIIT takes a lot more recovery. You can't do it as much. It does tax your system quite a bit and your immune system. So if you're not recovering, you can end up getting sick. You can end up triggering that cortisol response, which will have you, gaining more fat around the middle. So if you're going to do HIIT, make sure you recover. If you're going to do your list, make sure you change it up. So what I like to do with my clients and in my programs, there's a combination of both. And in my programs, if you're in them, I call it the happiness activity. So I always combine the two. So you get the best of both worlds, which I feel is the best way to not only get the fastest, most effective results, but also sustain those results, right? So that's kind of part of the way that I approach the flow of fitness instead of the force. I ask people to really push it once or twice a week. If you're an athlete, that's a different conversation. But if you're trying to get the most fat loss, if you're trying to get the most body composition changes with the quickest, fastest results, you're going to need to implement a true high intensity interval training into your week at least one time with full recovery afterwards. And I like to have people kind of look at them two different ways. Like, when you're looking at your high intensity interval training, I know it feels like cardio, but really it's kind of taxing your system the same way in that a heavy lift would. It's taxing that central nervous system, just like a powerlifting day. So if you're a deadlift kind of person, or you like to do your heavy squats, that's kind of going to tax you the same way metabolically that the high intensity interval training is going to do. Okay, now I want to talk about one more thing. I don't ever want you guys to do your cardio, your low intensity interval, your low intensity steady state cardio before your weights. So if you're in the gym and you like to do your weights and your cardio it's the same day at the same time, that's okay. What I want to share with you though is make sure you hit the weights first. Okay, because what you want to do is you want to tax that central nervous system first. You want to tax using all that glucose first. You really want to get into that state first. And then you want to maybe get on the rowing machine or the elliptical machine and do your low intensity steady state cardio if that's something that you enjoy doing. It's something I don't enjoy doing personally. In fact, I cannot stand it anymore. And when I do get on a piece of cardio equipment, it's usually for high intensity interval work. And when I'm doing my low intensity stuff, it's usually because I want to enjoy the outdoors. And I want to really enjoy being outside. And my movement is meditation. So that's kind of the way that I do it. And I work with my clients into getting into that flow state with their low intensity steady state cardio and doing what feels enjoyable to them, and then really kind of stepping out of their comfort zone and getting uncomfortable with the discomfort of the high intensity interval training once a week. So if you guys are looking to really try to, thanks for joining guys, if you guys are looking to really get the most out of your cardiovascular training, to get the body compositions that you want, composition changes you want, and to burn the most fat, you really need to look at how you're structuring your week and get into the flow of your low intensity stuff, and then really try to get comfortable in the discomfort of your high intensity work. Okay, so I really just wanted to pop on here today and kind of break that down for you. It is something that you really want to consider when you're programming for longevity and sustainable weight loss and body composition changes. You really want to make sure that you've got a comprehensive program that's working for you in a state of flow and not in a state of force like we talked about last week. Okay, you want to enjoy what you're doing. Don't get on the hamster wheel at the gym if you hate it. Figure something else out that makes it more fluid for you. It doesn't have to be so rigid, you guys. Let's get off of that structured way of thinking. And thanks for the thumbs up, you guys. And let's get more into the flow of it. So there is a way to do it without the overwhelm. There is a way to do it that can get you the results that you want without feeling like you're being pulled in a million different directions and you're spending hours in the gym. I promise. There's a solution. So I want to end with that. I haven't seen you guys ask me any questions today. So thanks for the comments, but I haven't seen any questions. So I'm probably going to pop off now. But if you guys do have questions that are coming to you, or if you're watching this on replay, let me know. Let me know that it's landing with you and you like this type of conversation and I can keep talking about it. And if you're interested in talking to me about your programming and how to move forward and how to get into the flow with your fitness and your health and your nutrition instead of it being forced, reach out to me. It's just me. So you can send me an email, you can send me a private message, or you can instant message me on Instagram. Okay, you guys, well, I do want to say one more thing. I am putting on a really freaking cool event that starts on the 24th, and it's free. It's an online masterclass series, and it's a series of interviews that's going to be interviewing some of the top world-renowned experts in the industry with weight loss and weight management for sustainability for life. Also fitness experts, doctors, registered dietitians, and just about anybody else you can think of that has a voice in the industry is coming onto the show. It's amazing. There's over 20 experts that are speaking. So if you guys have not signed up for my newsletter, you might want to do that because I'm going to be giving the details out on Tuesday on how to register and claim your seat for the event that starts on the 24th. It'll run for about 10 to 12 days and we'll be featuring 2 speakers every single day that are going to be talking to you about their perspective on the best way to sustain and maintain your healthiest weight for life. So you can get off of the forced diet yo-yo cycle that's vicious and ugly, and you can get into a more flow state and kind of feel at ease with your health and your fitness and your weight maintenance. Okay, all right, you guys. Well, thanks for the comments. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you trusting me with your fitness and your health and for being a part of the community. I love it. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm keeping it under my 20 minutes today, if you can believe it. I'm going to sign off, and I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful weekend.